to the Catalyst Circle, the next Catalyst Circle meeting in the 29th of July. And each one of these groups, the 7 groups represented in Catalyst Circle, is going to do that, which are the CAs, the Toolmakers and Maintainers, the funded proposers, the voters, IOG, Cardano Foundation. I think I'm missing someone.
SPOs.
And SPOs, yeah, thanks, Felix. And Felix is trying a different approach with the Toolmakers and Maintainers. They're going, you guys or us are going to have recurrent meetings to discuss this in a live way, with people contributing in real time instead of asynchronous. What's the word? Asynchronous.
Can I stop you for a
synchronized? Yeah.
Felix, can you give me co-host? We need it. We need to record.
Yes, for sure. Shit, I can't because we are in the main in the breakout room yet. We have to set up the co-host in the main room.
It's recording here already. Yeah, but yeah.
Exactly.
So that's it. And this in here, I would have done with DCAs. We would go to the Miro board and work on the problem statements. But here, I think we could use Felix's approach to this.
Exactly. But
yeah, that's it. And Len has raised his hand. I think he wants to ask something.
Yeah, Victor, how is the ranked voting interface going to work with the Miro board? Is that just a different interface? How are the two coordinated between the Miro board and the ranked voting interface?
After we have listed all the problem statements, I'm going to use another tool to create the ranked voting system, ranked voting, actually. I'm going to share it here in the chat, but it's not going to be done in Miro board. It's going to be done in another tool.
And the approach the toolmaker's gonna do is, like Victor said already, is more interactive. So at least the idea is, okay, in 2 weeks, we have to present a problem statement. This problem statement have to be made from the community. Our role is only to represent this problem statement. And Victor is gonna take the approach he explained already. So the toolmaker is gonna take the approach. We have each week, we have 3 sessions already. We have the after town halls, we have the swarm sessions, and there's another group, the Alliance. We have to look now how to include this there maybe. But the goal is each of the sessions are recorded. Each of the sessions, we're gonna work on a Miro board as well. So everybody, for example, put just his problem statement, what he thinks is the most valid problem statement. And during the session, we select already, okay, because the goal is we have to filter 2 problem statements. 2 problem statements which are able to represent the problems of all tool makers and maintainers, which is a quite difficult to define group because this can be everybody and nobody. Well, the thing is anyway, okay, how do we come to this 2 problem statements? The idea is today in the session already, I have already some problem statements gathered, but I would still prefer to start on 0. So everybody in this room goes on the Miro board. We will set it up and put already his problem statements on the node. And we just have a look by time also, okay, how can we filter already? Maybe some are overlapping, some are similar or whatnot. The outcome of this will come in the next Wednesday in the after town hall. We're gonna only use the outcome from today's session. We will only work on them. We're gonna increase them. The outcome from Wednesday after town hall goes again into next swarm session next Saturday. And then we're gonna increase it as again. The following week, the whole process repeats himself again. So at the end, to say, okay, by this process, we censored, mapped, and filtered 2 problems. By recording all the room, everything is transparent. Everybody can see, okay, what happened with the problem statements as well. And the idea is also to include the people really into the process. To say, hey, okay, you are really, Pete, you want to say something?
Yeah, just really quick, could you give me recording permissions or host permissions?
Ah, shit. Yeah, we have to, therefore, we have to jump back into the main room.
Yeah, I was waiting for you.
Okay, so I'll be back.
Thanks.
Co-host and then co-host and then. Okay,
Awesome.
now
There it
it's
is.
done. You have it?
I do.
Okay,
Oh.
great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Felix, just so you know, we were recording.
Huh?
We were recording because when you
cool.
left, it stopped and now it started again.
Yeah, like we know, documentation, a leak of documentation, things may break. Okay, so already question, does everybody in this room knows how to work on a Miro board?
Oh yeah.
Is everybody on the Miro board for?
Would you put the link to the Miro board in chat, please?
Yes, I'm gonna do. Give me a second. Here it is. So you don't have to concentrate on the circle and everything and the stuff what you see there. Does everybody knows how to create sticky notes?
Yeah.
If somebody don't be shy to ask. We're gonna explain it. It's the goal behind all this.
Yeah, it's my first time there. I just entered.
Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. When you go on the link in the live chat, normally you will come directly to the space here.
Yeah.
Okay. With my mouse, for example, simply with my cursor, I can zoom out and in. So when I zoom out, I see the other places where they walk on. We will focus on our area. If it's too overwhelming for you to see the other cursors flying around, you go simply here, right up on this icon,
Yeah.
and this will hide all the other cursors. So it's a little less overwhelming already.
Perfect.
After,
here.
sometimes it's cool to see where the people are moving around. Then on the left side, you see an action bar. When we go on the fourth item, it shows sticky note. So I simply select the color, for example, this one, just click on it. Now I do nothing. And I just go onto on an empty space and you just click again, then you have your sticky note. When you click on the sticky note and you hold your mouse locked, you are able to replace the sticky note.
That's clear. Thank you.
And to write on a sticky note, you simply do a double click on the sticky note. And then simply with the keyboard, you write whatever you want inside. Yeah, Key is doing fancy stuff already. Cool. Yes. So for right now, we can keep it really chaotic and everything. So just feel free to just grab a sticky note. We can even prepare already some for some other folks here. So the goal behind the problem statements is what already in your regard is a problem statement in regard to Project Catalyst, in regard to Cardano. For sure, we're gonna try to keep on this focus. I mean, you can write as well a problem statement about your whatnot, your relation to your girlfriend, wife, or both, whatnot.
Felix, would you like us to do it in the this nice yellow grid of sticky notes, or does it matter if we do it on our own?
Oh no, you can do for your own as well. Feel free to do however you want.
Wonderful.
We're gonna tell nobody what you have to do. We invite people to do it if you want to grab a
This
black
may be the governance circle.
no, we are the honestest of the circle.
We make our own rules.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
So, for example, problem statements would be
Felix, I bounced for a second. Can you clarify the question that we're answering right now? The problem statement with blank.
problem statements. So, okay. Maybe Victor, you can give a nice intro about the problem statements at general.
Yeah, actually,
Problem sensing.
Yeah, basically anything related to Catalyst that you think that could be better in any way.
Exactly.
I was thinking about sharing the CA's Miro board for problem statement here, but I'm not sure if.
Nay,
if
keep,
yeah.
keep it neutral.
Yes, I would. It's going to be influencing too much, I think. It's better to come up with different problem statements here.
For me, for example, one problem statement would be the CA role.
You need to be more specific for a problem statement.
Exactly. And now it's just problem sensing, for example. Everybody who writes a problem should be able to explain this problem as well. Be aware of this, because we're going to come back to this, I guess.
My problem is I keep clicking on the screen on Zoom instead of on the Miro board to try and type.
I can see that being problematic.
Gotcha. And you're not obligated to put your own name. You can, but if you want to stay, because this notes we're gonna take over for next session. Don't know if you will be there or not. So you can add your name onto your problem statement, but you don't have to. Because the whole idea behind is that, for example, Victor and me, we are representing, and we are only able to represent something. And that we are able to represent something, it's up to the community to present something. So it's really up.
Are we focused on the community advisor or the toolmakers, or both?
In
this quadrant of stickies.
Let's say both. Why not? And when we say both, maybe Victor, feel free to add as well because there is a huge overlap already in our groups. So
Bam.
what do you think, Victor?
Yeah, could you repeat, please? I was reading something here.
And just because Georgie asked if we should really focus only on toolmakers and maintainers, or if we should also take it from the perspective of the CAs. I said, yeah, why not both? Because at least it's true. We have a huge overlap already in these groups, toolmakers and maintainers and CAs. So at least if you want to add already the sticky notes from your CA Miro board, feel free to if you want.
That was going to be my point, is that we already have a bunch of issues identified on that Miro board. And are we going to work from that Miro board, or we're going to work from both Miro boards? I think it gets a little bit complicated.
Maybe not really, because I think some of the problem statements there will be very close to each other. And when we identify already problem statements from our side, which are the same from the CA side, we don't have to work on ours already. So we can focus on those which are not stated yet in the CA side.
Just a question, we're just looking for the problems. We're not proposing a solution. It's just
Not
the
yet.
problem that we're laying out.
Exactly.
All right.
All right.
And also there's no time frame for this, so don't feel stressed or
I'm getting really stressed over Felix. Really stressing over here.
Get a big sweat on here over
Yeah.
here. Filled out a full
need a-
sticky.
No, just that nobody have to keep in mind, oh, I just have 5 minutes. No. We're gonna take the time we need.
Have we ever considered getting feedback from the community in terms of, organically, maybe some social listening to see what people are asking when they try to come, what is confusing for them?
Mhm. This is one of the main tasks of the swarm, to be honest. Because very often you have people, for example, which are joining the ecosystem. Ken is doing a lot of good work there as well.
Yeah.
So this onboarding process to.
Yeah, no, I think that's brilliant. I meant in terms of just organically sort of listening to what's happening on social feeds and on Twitter and what are people already asking without them coming here, us going to social platforms, Reddit, Twitter, etc., all of that. There are social listening tools that we're able to sort of get what are people talking about? What are they facing in terms of questions, or where are they getting stuck at?
That's a good point. I don't think that there's anything, maybe there's some people.
Yeah, that's something maybe that I could look into. I mean, yeah.
Mhm.
Let me think of this. Hopefully next session I'll come up with something, because
sure.
there are tools, ready-made tools, and I work in a marketing agency. And we already have those, so I could just search what is the conversation happening around Cardano, Project Catalyst, these kind of keywords, and see what is the buzz. Positive, negative. What are the questions? I'll look into something, and maybe next time I'll come prepared.
This sounds really good. And also, if you have direct a problem statement in regard to the catalyst circle itself, for example, feel free to add. Because to be honest, to categorize the tool makers and maintainers and to say, okay, problem sensing for tool makers and maintainers is extremely difficult because this is a very mixed group. So maybe until some right, does some want to present or say something about their problems?
Yeah, I'd be happy to share one. One that I've been kind of experiencing as I've been able to look through the Catalyst, the amazing voter tool, which is just I've been loving using it. I think it's a really easy way to surf through proposals. But one thing that I've noticed is that if you look through them on average, the amount of community advisors that's reviewed that is in the range of, on the lowest, I think was 3, and on the highest was that I've seen so far is 12. So basically what I'm getting at is, as a proposer, I have found that your ranking on the Catalyst mobile app is pretty much the #1 biggest thing that leads towards the most amount of eyeballs on your project, and therefore your highest chance of getting funded. So I guess the problem I'm trying to put out there is how do we incentivize more community advisors to write quality reviews so you don't have in the range of 3 to 12 people determining the likelihood of a proposal getting funded. That's kind of at least the main problem I've seen as a proposer.
So, because I think from you is this one, this, and this?
Yeah, so at least the one I was speaking about just now, it's in the upper left-hand corner.
Yep.
Yeah, that one right there.
So when we say, for example, when you have 4 problem statements, which of them would you say are the most important ones right now?
Mm-hmm. Out of the ones that I've written, I would definitely say the one I just spoke about.
Aiden, what do you mean by 3 to 12 determine the ranking? I'm not sure I understood that.
Of course, yeah. So what I mean by that is if you look at the Cardano Catalyst voting tool, you can kind of see here is a proposal, and then here is its star-based ranking, and then you can see the amount of community advisors that determined that star-based ranking. So as I was scrolling through those, I was seeing that basically the amount of stars that a proposal has is generally being determined by either 3 to 12 people. And when we look at all the data in terms of Fund 4, Fund 3, those were the main funds I've been a part of. The projects that get funded are generally the ones that are at the very top of the ranking. So what I'm getting at is that you have 3 to 12 people determining the likelihood of a proposal getting funded. And just how do you incentivize that so that essentially there isn't a very small group of people that get to determine whether a proposal gets funded or not based off of their opinion about how well the project is written.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, it sort of links very closely to a problem statement that I had mentioned is maybe it's not very clear what are the incentives for each participant. Because in general, as governance, incentives is what makes it work. I mean, if there isn't incentive, I think they all speak about it, the IOHK team, how important incentives are. And maybe it's not clear to each participant what's in it for them to participate. whether we quantify it in terms of ADA or telling them, you know, the impact of the future and all of that. Maybe we could have like a one-pager to explain to each person within the community, whether they're an SPO or a community advisor or a proposer, what's in it for them to come and participate. What's their incentive? And maybe this would clarify your point for all the community advisors. So what's in it for me to go in and, you know, comment and give my thoughts? Maybe that would clarify it a bit, I believe.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think an establishment of it's very clear as to the incentives someone has, I think makes a lot of difference. And I think there's of course that monetary incentive, which the Catalyst team will bring up in town halls. Like I think this fund, it was something in the $140,000 range, which is a massive, massive incentive. But you know, as the amount of proposals scales up, you also have to have the amount of community advisors scale up as well. So it's kind of definitely a tough challenge to address, but I think clear incentives is a great answer to that.
Yeah, because one thing.
Yes, I just try to avoid, we don't really want to go into deep conversations about one problem. It's really just about censoring them, and we are not speaking about solutions yet.
Yeah, and I'd like to say that Ken has his hand raised for a while now.
Exactly.
I would be willing to help out with that. I take copious notes. I was a Fund 4 proposer. I exactly know how many dollars per hour I was just paid, and that we didn't know it was 4 months ago that I did 45 hours of work and did a number of things. So I think as far as that incentive, when you get to that solution point, reach out to me. I can share, and I'm willing to share exactly how much I was paid in ADA/USD for the work that I provided. So that'll be the selling point to anybody, because I can say it in one sentence. I got paid $19 an hour to be a CA, and that's what it worked out. So
that's great. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's super cool. Congrats, Ken. That's awesome.
And Len, he has his hand raised up as well.
Yeah. In terms of problem sensing, I think there's well, two things. There's a way to address that in terms of considering a different method of incentivizing. I'm not so sure that the amount of money that certainly voters earn is like 1 ADA. If you watch the Telegram channel, people are saying, wow, I got 1 ADA. And I don't know that monetary incentives is attracting the right kind of community assessor.
Just to come back a little, it's really not about deep diving into problems and playing with solutions already. It's only about problem sensing.
Yeah, and so the problem sensing I'm saying is what other kinds of incentivizing systems can be used.
That's a great problem statement, I think, because everyone as Cardano community, I think we're in it more than just the money. So how can we clarify it for the people that it's beyond just a few ADA?
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Did somebody wrote it down already?
I was about to before we started. And let me just say, I think there's some other one, reputation. I think it leaks to reputation. I think one of the other nodes are reputation system, and that to me is a better incentive than small amounts of money.
Somebody else wants to go for a problem statement?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about mine.
Go for it.
So mine, let me locate it to say the exact wording. Yeah, so newcomers don't know where to go or how to start getting involved in the Catalyst process. I feel like it's like, to me, and I'm also like a Cardano, fan for so long, it was a little bit confusing to just go to one place and find out what's happening, because I feel like there was so much happening and I just couldn't keep up. So from my end, from a observer.
And Nadim, did you write other programs down as well, or was it a single one?
I had another one here, which is what we spoke about previously. I was saying incentives are what make governance work. So how can we clarify and quantify incentives for each member of the community to participate?
So which one of them, and this will be a difficult question because both of them are very important. Which one do you think has more importance right now?
I think the first one that I said, the newcomers, because if we can just, direct each one to the right place and have a proper funnel for them. Like if you want to know more, if you're a voter and you want to know more, go there. If you're a community advisor, you want to know more, go there. And that place would have everything, all the tools, all the information. I feel like this would have the biggest impact to, organize and galvanize the entire ecosystem in the community, which is growing so fast, the Cardano community. But they just don't know what to do and where to go. And I've been so much into the project, and it took me a while to just find out about the swarm and what's happening here today. I just found out about this literally like a few days ago.
Totally agree. I think, Ken, you are quite on the same page because his mission is exactly driven to to build solutions for this. Maybe you would like to go ahead.
Yeah, I'd love to participate and help where I can.
I don't mind going through mine unless you want to go. You want to go for another one, Len? You have your hand up. Did you want to go again?
I think he just didn't lower the hand.
Didn't think lower hand. Yeah. So for my one, it's more just there's no clear, accountable, and democratic process for improving Project Catalyst. So a lot of these problems would actually come under the. If we could present that problem to IOG, but they are the gatekeepers right now. The most clear and one of the best ways I think we could get a faster progression of changes is to have this clear process of each week, there's like a set of ideas and the community votes for the top idea. And then someone needs to be accountable in IOG because they're still the custodians of Catalyst to make this change. So just having a very clear process would help solve some of these problems and alleviate them. And we could say of all of these problems, this one's number one. Obviously, we're using this circle kind of scheme for this, but as an example of the flaw, is that we are now the people that are then presenting that these problems to the circle, which is obviously a small sample size. IOG need to have the process themselves where they push out for the announcements. Here, guys, vote on which problem's the biggest one right now, and then we are accountable for making sure it happens. And maybe they delegate it to someone else to help solve the problem. But just having a clear process in mind, just that would then help with all these other ones and saying, okay, this is the next thing. Here's the next thing. Here's the next thing, and delegate accountability, and using democracy. So that's probably the biggest one for me.
Do we have other ones written down as well?
Not for me. That was that is the number one for me for sure. Without everything else, there's all the other problems, obvious ones, I think, but it's like that it all leads back to there's no process to actually get it done. So that's why I'm kind of solo on that one. That's okay. The big one, I think.
Somebody else want to go ahead?
I can step up for a second, Felix. The upcoming funds, about dead center on the board, the upcoming fund challenges, tried writing that in a problem statement format. They don't have there's no place to build momentum and teams and synergy yet. It's really difficult for me even right now to figure out what Fund 6 challenge structure even looks like. I think I have to dig into Fund 4 to find the ones that are there. And I think that if we can find a certain place or a location for everybody, but that's the solution for it. Unless I'm totally missing it, I don't know where anybody that comes into the community right now, day one, or that's been here since Fund 1, where do we go to look to the Fund 6 future and say, okay, those are the projects that need to be developed, built, and worked around so that we can help facilitate finding people, making things happen, and working that next fund, so that the proposals in Fund 6 are quality. that's my I have a couple other ones out there, but that's my number one, Felix.
It's like a decentralized sort of what do they call card starter? There's a specific word for them, like a jump pad. I forget what it's called, where they bring people together and work and synergize. I forget the name of it.
Incubator.
Incubator, yeah, exactly. Like it's like a decentralized incubator. This is what you're talking about, Ken, right?
It may be. I don't know where to click a link and find out what the Fund 6 challenges are. You know, I have an idea that I would like to get proposed in Fund 6, but I don't think those challenges are even outlined or set up so that I can build my proposal to fit into a challenge. So I don't even know what Project Catalyst's Fund 6 expectations are. So how do we find that?
Yeah, very good question. And somebody else wants to go ahead? Charlie, come on. I'm sure you have some good stuff.
I have a couple here. I'm trying to prioritize which one would be the best. I think that it's interesting. I think there's this, I'm gonna, I guess, go with this one. Well, let's see. Is there some overlap?
Yeah, it's good that we have overlap.
I think the big concern that I have is the root concern that I have, which I didn't really write down, is what is the best way to create a central narrative, which really builds, Ken, on your question. There's a central narrative. The problem is this is a decentralized space, but there's always a balance between centralization and decentralization. So to me, I think that creating narrative, or what is the best way to incentivize narrative construction around Catalyst? Because in the crypto YouTube space and Twitter space, and I don't hear many people, I'm not saying that I have the best, sorry for the background noise there. I don't have the best perception of the entire space by any means, but there's so many people talking about crypto, talking about the drama, talking about different blockchains and different things like that, even different projects, but not many people are talking about governance. Not many people are talking about the need for people in the world, community. We talk about blockchain community maybe, but how do you spread the word about blockchain specifically as it is to be a platform for solving problems in the world? So recruiting influencers, I guess, would be the focal point of that particular question. And I think that as that narrative develops, as certain influencers gain a voice, perhaps people find a landing place, find an incubator space of various types, you know, on their own, and that will sort of evolve naturally. It's a potential, I guess I potentially thought of a solution there, but that's the question that I would invite. Does that make sense?
I think you're looking for the description of what blockchain is as opposed to how blockchain is. And developers work on how blockchain is. They design it, they work on it, they dig into code. What blockchain isn't clear yet. That's my mission right now. So I'm with you on that 100%. And that's kind of my point of it. So, and it's a hard nut to crack.
Yeah, and more specifically, finding the people who will involve themselves in that narrative. For instance, you have people who dance around that question, like let's say Lex Friedman interviewing the gentleman who started Chainlink. They touched on in that 2-hour conversation, or Charles Hoskinson talking to Lex Friedman again for 3-4 hours or whatever it was. They dance around these, but how do we recruit more people than Lex Friedman to talk for 2 hours where most people aren't going to listen to that? So just I want to drum up more of that conversation is more the question. To answer that question that you asked, Ken. Yes.
Somebody wants to go ahead.
Charlie, do you mean recruit people for crypto in general, or for crypto when it relates to governance and what Project Catalyst is all about?
Yes, recruiting people for that, because everyone is recruiting for crypto. Oh, invest in crypto. Invest in crypto is what I hear all day on, so many different channels. Like, oh, I'm investing in this one or that one. Okay. Oh, that's such a monetary focus. That's not a society focus. So the conversation needs to evolve. Is what I'm suggesting.
Freddie, I couldn't agree more. And I think if we're able to solve this, I think this is one of the biggest problems, because I don't think a lot of people appreciate what you were saying, that blockchain is not just about money, it's about solving problems. It's a governance layer. And we come from the crypto industry where Dash was just tested it out at a very low level and then Tezos a bit, but no one's ever done what Cardano and Catalyst is doing. And I don't think people really understand the magnitude of it. So how can we clarify this and really show people the value? I think very, very important question.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I
Agree.
definitely would say there's a balance there between. I definitely say there's a balance there between a lot of marketing. I feel like in crypto is all about that price appreciation, because I think that's kind of a big thing that'll pull a lot of people in. But how do you make it so that the focus isn't on the appreciation in price, but rather the adoption and impact on the world? So yeah, I think that's definitely a great discussion, and making sure that those influencers are part of that message. Because I see a lot of in like the
will vote again and fund something that has been funded because they didn't know about the other proposal in Fund 5. So how do we make voters aware of the proposals that are already under development in the ecosystem?
Did you wrote it down already?
No, but I'll do it now.
Ah, cool.
Victor, could I add another problem on top of that? There's also this problem that I will write down actually, but the Catalyst fund will inevitably fund either on the really worst side, you know, let's say scam projects, but it will also fund incompetent projects. And there will be this sort of layer of waste that will always happen. Now it's interesting because that layer of waste will only be purged by competition. So on the counter, you are absolutely right, I think, in identifying this problem. If two similar projects in the same space get funded, then another problem would be, is there a way to establish some sort of problems or competition sensing? I mean, if we can collectively as a body observe how the two overlapping projects are competing and which one is perhaps more effective, that would be a really useful thing for the entire space. So perhaps another problem to layer on top of that.
Okay. I want to go for it, Victor?
No, I was just going to say that I agree with Charlie that it's not necessarily a problem that we have two solutions for the same problem, two different proposals. It's just make people aware of that, so they can check if the funded proposal, for example, or another project which was not funded through Catalyst, if they are performing well or not. Do we need another solution for this problem? Do we need a competitor, or the solution that already exists works fine for the ecosystem? I think in the end, it's just a matter of spreading information about what's happening already.
Felix, did you say that George is going to speak soon about something? Because I think everybody that just spoke is going to be a pretty big voter for George if he gets to talk here in a second.
Mm-hmm. I think so. George?
It's nothing to do with my proposals at all.
No, I know it doesn't. I know you're not promoting it, but everyone just said they're a voter for you and they don't even know it yet.
Yep.
Janela says hi, by the way.
I don't know about that. I hope I've got Ken in my bag, but maybe not. Maybe not everyone just here.
Because George, I think what you're going to speak about is related to some of the problems here already, because for me, I see a little bit the link already when we say, okay, when you say newcomers, don't get routed, how to make voters aware, how we recruit incidents, no clear outcome.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we see already they are coming together a little. It's a lot about the onboarding process. It's about creating awareness. It's about creating a very first infrastructure which allows people a fast and safe entry into the ecosystem and to offer them whatever they need. I think which comes also back to the incentivize stuff. How to involve CF.
Those newcomer ones actually kind of link to, again, I think this kind of process of, for instance, IOG kind of share their own links at the end of the town halls, and it's always their links. But for instance, let's say Phil's landing page has been now funded. This is almost a thing that should almost be added into these kind of lists now, that IOG helps them out because they have the biggest clout for like pushing things. And if we could have them kind of pushing community-led initiatives that help solve some of these newcomers don't know where to start and all those kind of problems, then we can start to iterate and have the support from IOG to help solve those problems.
And already, I think the question how to involve CF, I think it's happening already because they have a place on the Catalyst circle as well. So all the problem statements there will be addressed to them directly as well. And I think David is a quite cool guy who will listening to it as well. Then So what I would like to do is just, we keep this already. The outcome from here, we're gonna take Wednesday in the after town hall, filter it, maybe increase it, add something, change something, whatnot. Reduce it already, maybe just on the half already. Right now we have 9. So maybe it would be cool to go out on Wednesday with something like 4 or 5 problem statements already. And in the next one session, repeat it so that we have in 2 weeks, 2 problem statements. And the whole process is what we decide by this time. Does everybody agree with this?
That sounds great.
Sounds like a plan.
Somebody disagree with this, and please say when you it's something what we have to figure out together, so it shouldn't be one man's idea.
I have a question, Felix.
Yeah.
How are you going to address the thoughts of people who are not able to participate in these meetings?
For the beginning, not at all, because you go already the way that you take the possibility to address the problems to everybody who is not able to come into a process to be there. So you take this option already, and so my idea was, okay, I will take directly the opposite. It will not be the best, but only to work with the people who show up. Because my question, how to involve people which are not here, my solution for this is just looking at what you are doing. Because you do exactly the opposite. And I think this is the beauty also, when we have different representatives, we try different functions. And in some functions, some will be better, some will be worse, but at least we can compare with each other and can say, hey, look, here this went really well, here this didn't went well. So we can, I think we can profit from each other in this regard. Makes sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Victor, I'll ask you a question since we're all kind of in a mental pause. Does this help you in your new role? Does all of this help you represent us? Because I see you as a representative to us when you go to the circle, and I'm curious if this is beneficial for you. And as much as Felix and Swarm and everyone else is saying, hey, Project Catalyst, I see you as my representative, so I want to make sure that we're helping you get a good understanding of what and who you're representing.
What do you mean by this exactly? This meeting?
Yes. Yes, this meeting and the way that Felix is putting together and going through problem sensing. Because I've seen the messages that, hey, just a reminder, help us fill out the Miro board, help us, that's a good reaching out to everybody. But is this beneficial for you so far?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. Yes, I think it has its ups and downs. As I mentioned, I think when we work in separate times, we could get more people involved. But the problem that I see with the CAs group right now is that we have a very low engagement, and I think that's the reason actually, because most CAs only work during that period of time in the process, and then they go away and they return like 3 months later now. And I tried to do that mainly because I thought it would be very difficult to gather everyone in the same room to discuss these topics, as we can do with the Toolmakers, because the Toolmakers are active all the time. I think that ideally a mix of these two approaches would be better than each of one separate. We could work separately at our own times and also have this open forum for debate about these problems.
your question be answered, Ken? Because I forget, but you answered your question something else as well.
Oh, I tend to ask 2 or 3 questions at a time. I think Aiden and George can attest to that. Just pick the one you want to answer and you get it.
They're all for free. Take as much as you want. But Aiden, you wanted to go for something.
Oh no, I was just kind of laughing along there.
Okay. So what do you think? We keep it here for now, going on Wednesday?
That sounds great. What is the kind of, I guess, process of filtering that you were speaking of earlier? Are we going to have maybe like a upvote, downvote system, or is it more so just like a discussion as to what maybe a discussion as to what problems seem to impact people the most, or what were your kind of thoughts as to how we could refine them?
Exactly. For me, it's much more about the process.
Mm-hmm.
So to say already, there have been some people that have mapped down several questions, but it was not so difficult to decide which one is the most important for them. Because the problem is that we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 5. So here we have 26 questions, and here we have 9 already. So it's about the process that people can explain, hey, okay, what is your problem? And which one is the most important for you? And in the later stage also to say, okay, now we have these problems already. And we decide together with the people who show up, let's say, okay, hey, we only can present 2 of them. But we don't want to say, okay, now we just take this both, for example. Make it step by step. So Wednesday in the after town hall, we're gonna take these problem statements. And we do exactly the same like today, just with those. So explaining and filtering again. Say, okay, which ones of those are maybe the most important right now? There will be other people as well. They will have another input for this. In the next swarm session, there will be maybe again other people. They will have again another point of view about this. The goal is anyway that in 1 week from now, there are only 2 problem statements. Well, but I can't go into the meeting with just 2 sticky notes. Then there has to be some additional work for it. So the idea in the second week is to really map it out. Say, okay, well, let's say, for example, there will be, for example, this and this one, or whatnot. Okay, this has to be defined. And then we reproduce exactly the same process what we do right now, because in 1 week we have already the 2 problem statements. And then we're gonna really walk them out. Okay, define it already. Is there maybe a potential solution already? How would this look like? And there we do exactly the same like now. At first swarm session, then into the town hall. And then the week later, it comes into the catalyst circle. And we can make sure that each of the sessions are recorded. Everything is 100% trackable and transparent. Everybody can watch all the recordings and can have a look on, okay, everything was made by own choice, because we don't want to influence and really say, oh, okay, what do we together decide? And that the whole process is simply just really easy to catch up with and to understand the process. Just to give people to say, oh, okay, be part of the process.
Felix, do you want to see a really cool trick with an active and engaged audience like we have right now and that board as it sits?
Yeah, go for it.
Can you put those 2 back in the center of that panel in 9? And then go ahead and zoom in so only those 9 is what we see on the Zoom. And if everyone can hear me, if you're on the Miro board, go ahead and put your mouse off to the left. And then we're all gonna, this is kind of the cool thing about what swarms and happens. So we've all had a chance to talk to, listen to, and hear about these 9 ideas. And if we say in 30 seconds, we're going to take our mouse and move it into and just hover over whatever we all in this group of 13 think is the most effective, what's the number one problem that we sense as a group? And we have, so I don't have a watch in front of me, but we'll kind of gauge it. We'll say in 30 seconds from now, while we just skim and look and watch, and then as a group visually see it at the same time, and we all swarm over to what we think the highest sense problem is. And we have 30 seconds to make that happen, even though it might be 1 second for one person. Anybody that's lingering, let's see how we swell in. So hover over what you think right now is the number one of 9 problems.
But this is really cool, Ken. Okay,
right, go.
so is everybody agree? So 30 seconds.
Oh yeah, I guess, does everyone understand?
So stay in the circle, check,
Yeah.
check all the sticky notes.
Oh, you have a timer. Okay, cool. So in 20 seconds now, thank you, Felix. Then we're gonna go. And then you at that time you hover over what you think is the most important.
And simply pose your cursor just on the problem statement you think it's the
Yep,
most
just hover.
valid for you. That's it. Okay.
And this is where social influence starts to happen.
This is
Okay,
cool.
so we have, but here you have to, as a group, we have to decide on one. So I'll say it out loud. I'm moving over the reputation system. I would agree. Yes, there's 5 people there now.
No. But Ken, just
Go back to where I was
for
at.
example, exactly, because we see already. Okay.
Yeah, you could pull those out. There you go.
Okay, and again.
Very interesting.
Okay. Just can we repeat it?
Yeah. So, and the reason why you pick one is if the best scenario I saw in this is if all of us have to decide where the one place we're going to go to lunch is, and we can only go to one place, we have to pick as a group one place to travel. So instead of just, hey, what's your big thought? So we have 5 ideas here. If we have to present as a group, we have to have 100% consensus. Where do we go? So where are we going to lunch? Ready? Once I see the timer go, Felix, we'll go. You got music? You can do music too? All right, we're going now.
Good stuff, okay. Ken. This is awesome.
Oh, we got some hesitant people out there. You only got 20 seconds.
Are we going?
You're going, yeah.
Going.
See, that's why we need that music.
Okay.
I'll do that.
All right, if our guest doesn't move, uh-oh. I would say we have consensus, but we don't have we're not going to go to eat. We can't go eat if everyone doesn't agree. Oh man.
Okay, just repeat it.
This is social dynamics in real time.
Yeah.
This is interesting. Really, Ken. This is this is
very
really
cool.
This is really cool.
We're down to 3 now. I'm curious. Let's just hit pause for a second. Who is Soha-kun?
Session.
Yeah, that's me.
So I am curious. In the face of 12 peers, you stayed fast on where you wanted to go. Would you be willing to explain that a little bit?
It's not that I don't think that reputation is important.
Okay.
I think that we should develop reputation systems, plural. But I'm just really when we bring that to the catalyst circle for them as a problem to solve, I don't want them to put a singular reputation system in place.
Okay.
I think that's whereas the other one that Aiden raised, that the ranking of a proposal by community advisors is very influential on how people view proposals. I think that's what it's saying, right? It is 3 to 12 people giving their rating, and then that determines your rating.
You pointed it out very well.
And I think that's way more something that is a problem that the catalyst circle should tackle.
Okay.
The other problem is also what the actual implementation might look like for some of these things. It's all well and good to say this is the best problem, but if your reputation system is using a Tala Prism, then we can't solve that until that's out. So there's also kind of like, how would this problem actually transfer into something? Is it something that can be done very quickly? This is why the one I've kind of mentioned about the process is just something that can be done. We're kind of talking about it now in a way. We're actually doing a process like, how do we decide what's the biggest problem?
Yeah.
These kind of key things, that's something we can solve, and IOG can solve right now, be implemented. They can be done within a week or two. And then you move on to the next, like it's things you can kind of actually get done in the short term, I think, is a factor towards how you would vote for these. But again, we'd have to have someone who represents these, a problem and kind of explains how it would be implemented. So then the voters of this system, or any kind of system, have the exposure to be like, okay, this is how this might pan out. Here's who it could be delegated to. So you understand the full scope of what you're voting for. Yeah.
Okay. And George, I think you were the one that hovered over yours too at the end, right? Which is fine. That's that thing. It's like, hey, tell me why, you're, cool. So we have a top three. We have an overwhelming vote, and we have two very strong opinions. And I think let's, you ready to do this again, everyone?
And also, what do you think? Because sometimes I think, okay, a sticky note is great, but for example, just with Sophie, for example, just what you made, that he just by calling it out, it gives a total new point on it. Because maybe we spoke everybody about the problem statement, but he brought in as well, but what is the feasibility of this? I mean, do we really want to point this problem? So a problem has very perspective for how we should look on it. And I think we should not forget to also say, maybe it's not the most voted problem, which is the most valid problem. Maybe it's the best explained problem.
Good point.
And for all this, it's up to the people right now in the call to say, hey, okay, what do you think?
That's some great conversation. So with that in mind, I'm going to move to the clarity of the problem stated, which I think was another way to say your point, George. And I'm going to move myself to that more specific, I would say it's a more specific problem. I don't have a firm grasp on the reputation problem. I think there's a lot of sub problems underneath it.
Yeah, I'm not trying to push against the ones as not being valid. I think there's there's kind of two prongs to it. It's like problems that are big problems now, but that don't have an easy way to be fixed in the short term. And then there are like problems that could be fixed really in the short term. So I think there's merit to having both lists of things. Like this is like reputation could be the biggest problem overall. It's just we think that the best solution to that is realistically going to be, let's say, in 6 months when we have a Tyler Prism, we can start to play around with it. So that's like a separate list. It's like the overall kind of like top problems that we can understand when they might be able to eventually be looked at, and then the problems like these are things we can tackle and delegate to right now. So maybe there's some value in separating those in that kind of thought process for the circle, because the circle at the end of the day is things that we can, it is this kind of this process I'm talking about. It's just having this kind of, which kind of alleviates the circle in itself to make it easier for them as well. Having this clear process where it's just kind of like, here's problems we can solve right now. Here's a democratic voting system like we're kind of doing at the moment. And then make sure it's as a process for making sure it goes to the wider community, that this kind of everyone in Project Catalyst, even wider Cardano, push it on the Reddits, because IOG have the clout. And then you kind of have this lovely process of just getting problems kind of across the line. This is the problem that can be solved now. So that's the mindset that I'm coming from, if I've hopefully explained it okay.
Totally, because from this regard, for example, missing reputation system, okay, makes totally sense. But we know in the best case, we need decentralized identity. We need smart contracts to put anything in place, and we don't have this yet. So does it really make sense for us to think already now about a problem where we know minimum in 3 months, we have the first drafts of smart contracts or something available. And in this time frame, the Catalyst Circle #1 won't even exist anymore. So from this point of view, we could say, okay, we all moved totally into a trap. Because 80% of the people now, we have been agree of the missing reputation system, but at least it's from this point of view, it's the one which have maybe the less value of all the stuff. And maybe where we come back, okay, onboarding, clear structure. This is something what the community can do. It's something what the community does already.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, see, and then I go back to the issue I raised, which is also what I think is the problem with the proposal system, is the same we're running into now. Like, space is moving so fast. If you have to propose what to build 6 months down the road, who knows? Maybe 5 other solutions have already been built in the same time, right? And then what are you gonna do? Yeah, but you promised you have to deliver, right? Because otherwise you fuck up your reputation. Oh, sorry for the language, but not to bring it back to my issue. I think actually the one that Aiden raised, I'm going to stick with that one.
I'd like to add something here regarding the reputation system. I think that most of the work about a reputation system would be done before we need to implement something, because the reputation system would need to be designed. I think it would take several months until we decide about a good reputation system, and only that after these several months we would need to implement, and then we would need smart contracts and DIDs. So this is actually something that we were talking in the circle meeting, because we are going to choose a problem, but we are probably not going to solve it. We are just going to take some steps in this direction to find a solution and improve this problem, make it less of a problem in a period of 3 months. So if we choose, for example, a reputation system, we are probably going to spend these 3 months thinking about how this reputation system should work. Even if we had the IDs right now in smart contracts running, we wouldn't need them. We wouldn't use them right now. Just to add another perspective.
This just got way more complex and I love it.
Yeah, here you go.
With that said, I do need to head out. I will tell you this. I love all the problems that have been identified here. And truthfully, every single one of you, I think, would make a phenomenal choice if they were to choose in an executive way alone. So all that to say, I defer my vote, and I am sorry to say I must leave. This has been amazing. Thank you for allowing me to join and participating in the conversation together.
I hope to see you Wednesday, Charlie.
Absolutely. I'll take care.
Yeah, have a great day. It's nice seeing you.
Absolutely. See ya.
Thanks, Charlie. Take care.
Because also from another regard, for example, okay, Victor, what you just said, okay, it could be possible that we sit there and we think and ideate and design already 3 months of process. But I mean, what are the problems in our political systems? A lot of people would speak about huge problems, and they speak and they speak and they speak, and we want to measure our politicians by action. Very often we have these big speakers, they speak and speak and speak, but what do they do after they get elected? They do nothing. So what when we turn it around? We will not speak a lot. We don't need a huge problem statement, which is extremely complex and where you go and you need to really move down the rabbit hole. We can simply take a problem statement where we know, regardless of Catalyst Circle, regardless of IoT, regardless of CF, we are able to work on a solution by ourselves already in the community. So we know there are already projects, individuals, whatnot, working on onboarding, awareness, everything stuff, which are some of the problems here. Newcomers don't know where to go or how to start getting involved in the Catalyst process. How can we recruit influencers to promote community involvement? How to make voters aware about projects already under development? How to involve CF? All this are relation and network and organization-based problems where the community is working on already. Because I would like to measure the value of the Catalyst Circle by the action they have done to realize the stated problems from the community. Say, okay, it's nice when you are able to listen to the problems, but what are you able to do by these problems? Well, it's not a decision-making circle. It's, how I said, it's a human sensor array. But there's a reason why we do this problem statement. And when we have a problem statement, well, it's the very best beginning to start something. And to make this aware and to use this catalyst circle as a tool and to say, hey, okay. And from here we go. But to categorize our problems maybe by feasibility. What is possible to do in 3 months?
Felix, I want to clarify one thing. I think what happened was very, very interesting in the sense that everyone was gravitating towards missing reputation system, but then one person sort of just said one comment, which honestly made me think as well, like, what's the outcome? So this is the question and we're going to pose it, but then what's the outcome? There's nothing much that we can do, as we said. So really thinking of the context, as you were saying, of what is going to happen post us asking that question. And I did a little change on the question that I had mentioned here. And so really the question was, how can we ensure a frictionless experience to every participant? So many people want to get involved, but they don't know how to. So how can we ensure a frictionless experience, like very easy to understand step by step? And I feel now thinking that again, and I just tweaked a bit my question, I feel this could be something that is very actionable. Like every participant within the community can work on this question in their own way to ensure a frictionless experience. And the outcome of that is a much more involved community as a whole, and participation. So I feel this is the most important thing that we're looking for and quite actionable. So just stepping back, this sort of made me rethink of my question, and I edited it. So I just wanted to make that make that clear.
Totally agree. And just to the guy who throw everything overboard, this is Sophie, and he's a master in this. So everybody he agrees on something, just let him speak. And but yeah, it's exactly Victor raised his hand. Sorry.
Yes, I'm just going to paste here in the Miro board something that is in the document generated in the circle meeting, that we don't need only the problem statement. We need to we need also to answer these questions here. Why solving this problem is important to the mission of Project Catalyst, and if we can articulate between the gap of the current state and the expected or envisioned state.
So I wanted to bring that next week, but good that you bring it already.
I'm sorry.
No, you're right.
Actually, there are other steps after this.
If I can say something about the problem that is 3 to 12 people ranking, I think that that statement is the tip of the iceberg. I think the real issue is that are we obliged to guide the voters, or do we trust the voters to make their own decision? And I think that something that can be accomplished is in Fund 6, if we continue to conduct the CA, VCA process, but don't publish any results. Let the voters vote. Then after they voted, they funded the proposals, go back now and compare. What did the voters decide on their own compared to what the CAs advised? I think that's something achievable in Fund 6 and would go a long way towards solving the issue, as it was stated, that only 3 to 6 people, actually I think it's 85% of the votes of the projects have less than 6%, 6 people. So that's something that's actionable.
If we could stay on that for just a second, this very slide with the 3 to 12 people, and I'm just curious if if anyone has gone through Fund 4 and compared the actual stats. Not to say the feeling is that that was the case. And I know that there were some people who had higher ratings that weren't voted for than others. And that goes back in every way. I'm just curious if anyone has actually mined that data for Fund 3 and Fund 4 to see what the results are.
Victor mined the data, and I went through it today, and like I said, it's roughly 85% of the proposals had fewer than 6 reviews. That could be 3 reviews, 4 reviews. So it's a big number.
I did some poking in the data as well. To your point, Ken, I do have to admit that at the moment there isn't necessarily an overly strong correlation between rating and voting. There is some, definitely, but it's not like a one-to-one. It's not.
It wasn't that the highest percentage voted or the highest rated scores all got proposed or got funded. That's
from a statistical perspective, you have to assume that there's definitely other factors at play.
Okay.
Yeah. On that.
Soshi, if I can,
Go ahead.
I looked at those numbers also, and I put on the Telegram today the number of funded proposals that got over 4 and under 4. And if you look by challenge, predominantly the proposals that were funded were over 4. I mean, 4 out of 5.
True. I'm not saying that there is zero correlation. I'm just saying that there's also clearly other factors at play. It's not like a one-on-one. It doesn't determine the rank of voting, right? There's also things that got five ratings that didn't get funded, and other examples, right? I agree, and that's also why I hovered over that post, because I do think it's a important issue that you're raising, and that it is, well, I mean, tip of the iceberg is maybe, but there's more underlying problems to that sticky than just what it says there.
Okay, and so my idea is let's eliminate that uncertainty by conducting a fund in which CA assessments are made but not published. And so you see what the voters decide on their own without influence. It seems like
like an experiment with at least one challenge that doesn't have a CA system, right? Then that would already give you like, let's see what happens there. It's just an experiment, right? It's a small thing you can do. It's more, but then we're already going towards action solution.
Exactly. Yeah. And now I would really love to keep it just on the problem sensing, problem statement, not go into the solutions yet. We still have some weeks to do this, and just step by step.
Yep. Felix, the reason I ask is I always want to make sure your ladder's on the right building. If it is, if you start going in a certain direction, make sure that direction is true. Yes. I tend to believe that there is an issue with the fact that only 3 to 6 people are doing it. I was heavily involved in that, and it took a lot of my time and effort. How do we solve that? How do we improve that? That's down the line. Right now, I'm with you. I just want to make sure that it's, how do you prove that is the right building to lean your ladder on to get to the top? So cool.
Totally agree.
I can speak to a little bit as to how, I guess, that problem came to mind, if that would be helpful. I don't want to go too much into solution, as you said, Felix, but at least, so I was in Fund 4 with my proposal called Player Mint. And at least for dApps and integrations, there was 5 proposals funded, and to my knowledge, the 5 proposals were where my concept was kind of coming from, is that the vast majority of experience come from the concept of I'm opening up an application and then I'm gonna, scroll through a proposal and take a lot of time as a voter. My easiest objective is to kind of lean on the community advisors as some suggestions. So that's kind of where the concept came from.
in terms of how that problem became aware to me.
Mhm. Good. So I would like to just close the chapter to give to handle over to George. Close the chapter for today.
I don't mind if you continue for a second. I've literally just got to finish up dinner, so I have a plate on my thing. I'm kind of dual wielding right now. Dinner in this one.
Okay.
But I can do both. I can do both at the same time in 5 minutes. I'm literally plating up. So.
Okay.
Felix, if I could have, since we have just that second, I want to make sure that it was, I might have spoken in a way that was misunderstood. I was asking Victor, as a representative of us, knowing that you're also a representative of ours as well. And both of you are, you're doing this, and I'm sure that what you're doing is helping you. I was curious about Victor being in this space as well, and if this was helping him as a CA representative. The onus is on you to make sure this works for you. So I'm assuming it works for you. So I'll feed it back. Is this helping you out, Felix? Is there anything to help promote? Hey, let's get, like, what can we do to help you out more as our representative?
I don't know how it is for you, Victor, but for me, I feel a little uncomfortable with this role, because until 1 week you have to take responsibility for a certain group where you know, wow, there are a lot of problems, and it's not up to you to make any decisions, but there are expectations on you. And you don't want to take it too easy. You want to take it serious, and you want to take it good. But no, I think neither Victor, neither me, we have any experience in this. And it's for me, to be honest, it's an educational process where I say also, okay, what does this role mean? And I don't want this role, at least. I think this role is a community role. And we have to help each other in regard of this role. To say, okay, what do we do together with this role? So we need your help much more than you need our help, I think.
I'm glad to hear that, Felix, in that same sense, because especially since this is a global community, in the US, we have police officers and we have peace officers. And I think that's global just as well. We have people that will enforce a law because it's in writing, or we'll have people that pay attention to somebody that's breaking the peace. And that there's two distinct roles with the same badge. So recognizing that you have a role, in the way that I see, and I hope that you guys, and it sounds that way, is that you guys are representing, you're getting a cumulative idea of what the community you serve, or that has chosen you to serve, wants, and you speak for us. So when you speak in that larger platform, the 9 of us here, the 14 of us, the rest of you who are going to see, everyone else that sees this is going to say, well, hey, I know I spoke to my representative, Felix, in this platform. You're going to talk to at least a bit of what my sense is, what Aiden's is, what John is. All of us have something to say, and you get to speak for us. Same thing for Victor on the CA front. So I'm glad to know that both of you are in that same mindset, that you're being a representative of your community, and you're not being the, well, they picked me so that my thoughts count type thing. So, high fives everywhere. Good job.
And I think also with Victor, we are working very close on the swarm in the alliance of Catholic schools and stuff. So we made already very early the decision as well that we will work very close with each other also by the. It's extremely...
so this is a political cartel, huh?
No, it's
no,
not.
just kidding.
Collaboration.
yeah. I'm just kidding.
It's too late now. We've got the recording. You're gone. You're gone.
No, also with Juliana.
Hi everyone, I'm Wyatt.
Hey Wyatt.
Hey.
Hi Wyatt.
He works as a project catalyst. Bye.
I wish I had a job. I mean, I'll get paid.
Victor, do you want to say something to this again also?
Yeah, just that I agree with you. Actually, this was something that we said in the first meeting, that the way that the agenda of the first circle meeting was set, it looked like they were expecting from us to know about the pains of our communities and to choose in that first meeting the problems to be solved. So then me, Felix, and Julian, we suggested to take these 2 weeks to make this, because this is probably the most important decision that is going to be taken in the circle. It's which problem to tackle first and which direction to go. So it made sense to listen to everybody, especially in this step.
Because already when we received the agenda, I just saw the point, pick 2 action items for the problem statement. And from all the agenda, I felt very uncomfortable with this. So that they ask a single person to represent a problem statement for a whole group. And I was just texting Victor and said, hey, this feels really strange to me. And he said, yeah, for him the same. So we said already before the Catalyst Circle meeting happened the very first time, we had already our agreement to say, oh no, we will be against this. This needs to be defined by the community, not by a single people. So.
But that should be fine, right? I mean, they form, like the circle is the first step to governance, so there couldn't be any governance to decide the agenda for you. It should be determined by the members of the circle.
Which says when it's made by the, oh, sorry, Victor.
No, go on.
No.
No, I was just going to say that I need to go now, but I can't wait for you to talk first.
No, that's nothing important.
Okay, so I need to go, guys. Thank you for being here. We'll be in touch, of course, and just keep going.
Likewise. See you soon,
if you want to.
See you, Victor.
And George, you're still eating?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm eating and talking. I can do both. Watch me go. Watch me do things.
But be gentle. We don't speak with a phone mouth.
I'd probably be a bit clearer, to be fair. I mean, I waffle on, if I'm honest. Do we have time? I mean, it's not critical. I go through it now if we don't have time, but I can be fairly quick if you want me to bring up the social account stuff. Is that what you meant, or
do you have a link again for the?
I do.
Cool.
So I can talk. Not that, everyone. So I've been looking at how can we have it so toolmakers have really easy access to like exposure. So one of the problems I've had is that, you know, there could be a number of catalysts, kind of like people who are trying to improve the catalyst process at making tools. And at the moment, it like for them to get exposure, they have to kind of go through these kind of town hall processes, which are these one-off kind of, you know, bigger kind of events. But it'd be kind of cool if the community could come together and have maybe some shared accounts that we all push to. For instance, let's say we can use the an easy example is like using the existing Discord we have for the Catalyst community and having, for instance, some of the Toolmaker section, you know, in a category somewhere that says, for instance, AdaGov's helping with the Catalyst process on governance, and there's the Cardano Catalyst site that Victor, Phil, Tivo all made, then the thing I've made, and some of the other tools that, so then people have this easy kind of like aggregation on Discord rather than making their own Discord and bring people to that. Because on some tools, it doesn't make sense, for instance, to make a separate Discord for it. Swarm's an example of where something's already big enough and it makes sense. But as an example for what I've been working on, I really don't want to make a separate Discord and an extra server that someone needs to join. I'd much rather it be kind of like this shared kind of tools, whether that's in the Cardano community Discord or let's say a Toolmakers Guild for Cardano. Maybe that's the place. but it's so we can kind of share that kind of single account, whether it's on Discord, maybe we have a Reddit, a subreddit, which is Project Catalyst, or it could be Toolmakers or something like that, that we can all push to, and then we all get the benefit of having that kind of equal, easy exposure. I'll let someone prod me in case to see if that makes any sense so far. Does that kind of
Is it
any
kind of
confusion?
like an alliance of some sort? Like it's sort of an alliance kind of thing.
Yeah, alliance. I don't know if yeah, in essence, yeah. It's more just kind of like this group collaboration of just kind of making it easy, making it more egalitarian for just, I could be a really good tool maker, but for me to actually get exposure, I've got to spend a lot of extra time just to kind of do all these things, share it on these places and all that kind of thing. Whereas if it was like a community effort that IOG have their accounts, we don't have ownership of them, we can share into them. But if there's a few community things, so it's just the Discord, maybe it's just Discord and Reddit. I'm not saying which accounts it should be, but just some kind of communal, like here's somewhere we all push to as toolmakers. Like if you want to find out all of the things to do with identity tools or some smart contract tools or some catalyst tooling, some community projects, then we have like a Discord where everyone kind of shares it there. So the toolmaker doesn't have to do all the kind of social advertising marketing side. They can focus on making a good tool. And if they do get big enough and they do have a big enough collective amount of people, such as let's say Swarm, then they can of course they can go and make their own Discord and they make their own server because they've got enough size where it can make sense. But for the smaller tool makers, we want to help support them, so it's just kind of like nice and easy for them to just jump in, make something, try and add some value, and boom, they have the exposure. It's all kind of nice and easy to access, and then that they may just stay there. I mean that's the kind of joy of it. If they just stay small and they're a little small tool, but they always have that kind of like community accounts they can just post to or have a chat channel.
So George, your problem statement makes good sense to me, because I know, like for me, I had one instance where they played a video that I made specific for Town Hall. I know Felix popped on there a couple of times. I remember when the very first Swarm question made it to the Q&A at the end, and that was fun. But that's what you're talking about here, as far as once these things start to happen, how do you where can I put my pin in and say, hey, I was featured here, or he was featured there, or this tool was featured 4 months from now. Who's going to remember that Phil and that group put together the voter tool, or all those things? So yeah, that duplicity that has to keep happening. You're looking at a way to solve that and make it. I like that. Okay.
Yeah, I don't really have the answers for each of the accounts. Maybe like, for instance, maybe it doesn't really work on Twitter because of the permissions and how it works. And maybe on Reddit, it's just maybe a subreddit we all share and we just all can post to. Like for each account, there could be different kind of thought processes. And eventually, long term, obviously, we'd like to migrate away from centralized services anyway. But we have this interim time where we could kind of like try to make it easier. For now, it kind of works right now with maybe the town halls. Let's say there's Phil and AIM and what me and Jacob are doing. There's a few, let's say 4 or 5, let's say catalyst tools. But as that grows, the town halls are really not, you're not going to be able to do like, oh, I've done a feature update, I'm going to go into the town hall just to do that. It won't scale very well, basically. So having this kind of like shared way that people can say, I want to see what's going on in the Catalyst ecosystem of tooling, because I'm about to do X, Y, Z. I can see what's going on there in, whether it's Discord, Reddit, or whatever those shared accounts are. So it's more just like starting to explore. Maybe we look at the Discord part first, and what's the best way to do that? Is it best to have it all in this existing Cardano kind of community Discord we've got, or should we make a Toolmakers one and then have all of the subsections in there, and just trying to start thinking about how that could benefit everyone and how it could be structured in a way that makes sense? Because as things start to grow and we have more tools, then I think it's very easy for like a new toolmaker to get completely lost and have no chance in hell in getting like a much exposure apart from the one-off town hall they get involved in, and then that gets obviously forgotten over time. So yeah, I'm not coming with any big solutions here. It's just kind of like I'm trying to start the process of getting to the next step. Just it's a very open conversation. It's something I've been thinking about the last week. But yeah, there's no kind of obviously concrete we should do this kind of opinion coming at the moment.
Well, I think it's a quite important aspect which fits really well in what is happening right now with the Catalyst school already. I think what we're setting up there. Because I think from the problem statements made already just in the session before, we know everybody knows there's a huge problem on onboarding, introducing new people. There's a huge problem of creating awareness of things which are there already, which sometimes even creates a counterproductive situation where people may be even start to do proposals for something which is in progress already or which have been achieved already, but nobody has any access, any clear point of view about, okay, what is going on at least. I think it comes back also again to the stuff that, okay, yes, what was mentioned before already. Okay, centralization, decentralization. We want to have decentralization, but when decentralization means we have 300 websites with 300 different contents where we don't know how to find what, then decentralization is highly ineffective. So maybe we have to find a little bit of them. Okay, how can we have maybe something like a centralized access point? But this doesn't mean.
Yeah, I think the Catalyst school could be a really good, because I mean, I'm as you know, as a community, you know, Victor, all of us are kind of aligned. As soon as I found out that started, and obviously I've been looking at the resources side. I think I think everyone's going to very quickly come aligned on that. So it's a really good community push that we're going to be pushing, like a good version of that, hopefully, to IOG. And if we can solidify it with IOG, then we kind of have that ability to start kind of aggregating that. And we maybe once we have the Catalyst school, we could then start being like, okay, here's the aggregation of all the tools. So as well as the Catalyst stuff and all the resources, we're also showing the aggregation of these things that anyone can come into. And we can build on from there kind of thing. But I think the resources and Catalyst school is like the really good starting point that I think we've all come to. Everyone who's been involved so far has come to a really good agreement that this makes so much sense.
Yeah, totally agree. And also to see, for example, George, what you have done with Jacob, for example, the landing page, just next to you, Ken, what he's doing with his introduction videos. I mean, all this fits so well together already. Steve,
subscribe to Ken immediately. You won't regret it.
Yeah, Stephen with his GitHub documenting everything. I think the biggest challenge what we have to do before reaching out to more growth and onboarding more people, just to create a very simple infrastructure already with which the people which are already in the ecosystem have an easy, safe and fast access to the media, the content, the tools, the knowledge, the whatnot, what I just need. Because we have it. It's just so difficult to find it. And the most of the things are right now, they are very often relation-based. You have to know the right people and they will delegate you to other people who know some people and they can explain you. And this, well.
Yeah, it's definitely heavily linked to IOG as well. Like we need like I'm not a massive fan of like there's a very big disparity like on the, let's say the Fund 5 voting thing goes on Reddit and it says this is all you need to know, and that goes on Reddit, and then we have a dash like an Excel dashboard for this, and the fund results don't come into like a PDF and they go on idea scale. Like there's a few, they do all go into the announcements thing, but it's like how everything's structured and stuff. I think there's obviously room for improvement, but all in good time.
Step by step.
Step by step.
And we are still young, Church. We have to calm down with our
Oh no.
I
don't feel it. It's been a long 6 months in Catalyst, I tell you.
Unfortunately, we have some wise people which can get it.
Scarred.
Hey Nori, how are you?
Good. You're just coming back from the other room.
Yeah, all the other rooms done.
So.
Yes, I think so. I think it's a good time also.
I was just wondering was this one recorded? I'd love to. I was torn. I didn't know which one to go to, so I went to.
Yes, it was recorded.
Excellent.
Make sure you zoom ahead to the point where we actually swarmed with the swarm group.
Yeah, Ken had a really cool exercise, because at least we made some problem sensing, so some problem statements on sticky notes, and then everybody placed his cursor just next to the sticky note.
Yeah.
And then when on a signal, everybody move his cursor to the sticky note where he think has the most value or most whatnot. This was really interesting. At least it's a extremely interesting filter process, I think, because you don't
Yeah,
influence.
I really like that.
You don't influence anything, and you just take this the moment, and you let aside the moment and the people which are there right now.
Yeah, I think that it could be worth maybe thinking of some playbook ideas of just like things, ways to solve Miro kind of decision problems, or like just documenting a few of these, that kind of approach. I really like that. It's you can do it really quick, so it's and it's obviously engaging. So
because at least you can say this is a voting process. You can call it a voting process. So Ken, if you have more good stuff, hey, please.
I'm looking up the video right now where I learned it from. I've only done it once, so I can't claim it's my own. So I have to wait till you got to do it 3 times or announce it 3 times, then you claim it for yourself.
Okay, let's repeat it 2 times. Just to say, okay, it's yours.
Yeah, no snitches in here, mate. It's all yours. Claim to fame. Take it. Make it your cover photo. Inventor of. Vote for Ken.
Nice.
I can't find it on my shelf right now, but there's a book called Game Storming that is really excellent. It has like hundreds of different techniques and strategies to curate and vote and brainstorm, and it allows you to mix and match and kind of do stuff. It's a really helpful toolkit. I would recommend that highly if anyone's interested in that area.
Because I think especially in cases like this, when we have already this governance, let's say governance experiments, I think we should really play. We shouldn't take it too serious. We should take the situation also and the possibility to say, okay, let's try some weird stuff in practice. Documentate it when it went well, repeat it, create a protocol out of it, out of practice. So if someone, for example, on Wednesday in the after town hall, there will be a toolmaker circle again, where we will walk with the 9 questions selected today. So if somebody has an idea on the selecting or filter or voting process, which is easy feasible on a document, Miro board, Zoom call, whatnot, just let me know, maybe until Tuesday, something like this, so that we can set up everything. What swarm intelligence?
All when remote, try to bring the office home. Turns out.
So that 2-minute 45-second video I just sent in the everyone, and I just added it to the swarm board itself. When the word swarm came up a few months ago, before Catalyst Swarm happened, I wanted to figure out what the heck is swarm, and that was one of the first videos that I came up with, and I'm like, oh my god, this is cool, this is really awesome. And then I started learning about Miro, then I started learning about how it all worked, and that just watching that thing flow, I was like, oh, that was the source of my inspiration on what we had just done, and why I used the lunch example today. I also have 3 kids that just came inside because we have 5 inches of rain and they're muddy and they're bathing.
And it's funny also that the word swarm is tech companies and whatnot. They love to use the word swarm. It's a quite often used stuff at least.
Why swarm?
But yeah.
Okay, everyone, I do have to get going. They're a little dirtier than I thought. So I'll talk to you later. Really fun time. I appreciate everything. Have an amazing day.
See you soon, Ken.
Yeah, again.
Is it okay when I hop off as well? Or somebody?
Yeah, I think this is a good time to end. I think we've covered everything. I'll reach out. I've got probably a few ideas. Think about this ideas thing problem you've got to solve. Felix, I'll reach out to you on that.
Yep.
But
And
absolute pleasure.
good. So see you Wednesday in the town hall, I guess.
All right. See you guys.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.
Now, let's imagine that they use swarm instead.